We've arrived in Malta. Malta is 300 kilometers away from Tunisia, 80 kilometers away from Sicily, Italy. You can already feel Tunisian and Italian vibes. Malta is such a small island that you can pretty much travel through its entirety within a single day. First, make a stop at Marsaxlokk, a traditional fishing village with a population of 3,500 people. Back in the day, Phoenicians, Carthaginians used to use this Roman-era harbor. You'll spot many luzus here, which are traditional fishing boats that have been around since ancient times. So very recognizable, luzus are always painted with bright colors. On Sundays, there's always a seafood market at Marsaxlokk along the seafront. We're in Marsaxlokk. This is as Malta as it gets. Hello, sir. That's so Malta. That's so Malta. That's so Malta. Blue doors, colors. Along the water here is where you can do a lot of souvenir shopping too. Souvenirs along the port. Cheesy, but sometimes, why not? Take a rowboat to see the famous Blue Grotto combined with rays of light. Mdina, anyone? The stained glass-like seawater reflects upon cave ceilings and walls. Underwater, you'll see shades of red, orange, mauve, and green that make the perfect Instagram post #unfiltered. You can visit the cave any day throughout the year as long as the weather allows it. Blue Grotto is so worth it, you guys. It's so worth €8. You have to go do it. It's the most incredible sights ever. And I wonder why we don't do more to protect this earth. It's so gorgeous. We're in Valletta right now, which is the capital city of Malta. About 7,000 people actually live here, but this is where the financial centers are, governmental administration, and so forth. Constructed by knights in the 16th century, Valletta is Malta's capital and Europe's southernmost capital. Hugely damaged during World War II, today's Valletta is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We're now in the Baccarat Gardens. Very military here. I think the perfect way to spend an afternoon here in Valletta is to have coffee right here in the Baccarat Gardens. Strolling along the Upper Baraka Gardens, sit down for a sip of cafe and snap tons of photos of the waterfront view of the Grand Harbor. Here is the highest point of Valletta's city walls. Prior to the French occupation of Malta, the gardens were used to recreate the Italian administration of the knights. After the French occupation, the gardens became open to the public. Cafe Cordina is one of those institutions to have stood a city's test of time. Established in 1837, the interior is classically European. The cafe may seem touristic, but you've got to do it. Kinda looks like Coca-Cola, but Kinnie is Malta's national soft drink. It's bittersweet with extracts of bitter oranges and wormwood. To understand the Knights or Order of St. John's influence, the Palace Armory is a must-see. The collection of knights' armor in the 17th and 18th centuries leave your jaws drop upon entering large rooms filled with medals, helmets, and swords. This is one of the world's largest collections of arms and armor. There are 400 tombstones here in the Church of St. John. A lot of knights are buried here and obviously really important figures during the Great Siege. Voltaire once said nothing is better known than the Siege of Malta. He was referring to the Great Siege in 1565 when the Ottoman Empire tried to invade Malta when the Knights or Order of St. John was in charge of the island. The siege was the turning point of the conflict between Christians and Islamic Ottoman Empire, both trying to take control of the Mediterranean. Approximately 2,400 soldiers and local Maltese fought against the Ottoman invaders. Their victory was one of the most celebrated events in Europe during the 16th century. Here is probably one of the most beautiful cathedrals I've ever seen personally. This is so beautiful. Who knew this existed in Malta? St. John's Co-Cathedral was built in 1572. Designed by Maltese architect Girolamo Casar, the glistening golden interior was later redecorated by Mattia Preti and other artists. It is one of the most extraordinary high Baroque art I've ever seen. Every February 10th, they celebrate St. Paul, and there's a real band. We're now going through the gates of the Mdina. The descendants of medieval nobles still live here. Located in the north, Mdina was Malta's capital during the medieval period or the Middle Ages, until the arrival of the Knights or Order of St. John. Currently, there are 300 people who live here, and Mdina remains as the center of Maltese nobles and religious authorities. Many houses here are passed down from families by generations. You'll see a combination of Norman and Baroque architecture with palaces that have turned into private homes. Today, Mdina is a tourist landmark. Cars aren't allowed here, hence it garnered the nickname Silent City. Once you pass through the Mdina Gate, you'll see Mdina Cathedral, which was dedicated to St. Paul the Apostle. One thing you've got to buy specifically in Mdina is its glassware to beautify your home. Gorgeous artisanal vases, bowls, jars are made with high quality and premium standards. We're now riding the ferry, leaving Valletta to go to Gozo. And the only way to get there is via the ferry. Malta is made up of 3 islands, and Gozo is Malta's sister island. Here, you'll need to dive and snorkel in the Blue Hole and the Azure Window, where Game of Thrones was shot. Also, visit the Gigantia temples, which are even older than Egypt's pyramids. The temples contain several figurines and statues that symbolize fertility ceremonial rites, showing human settlement from more than 5,000 years ago. Here in Gozo, they found human settlement. They used to move these limestone rocks on plates of wooden panels on rocks that acted as wheels. So a lot of archaeologists believe the human settlement here were actually inventors of the wheel and art, because a lot of their stones had human face carvings. Don't miss the impressive Citadella of Victoria from the Bronze Age, which is also a former acropolis of a Punic Roman city. During the medieval times, the Acropolis was converted into a castle that became a home for Gozo refugees. During the 15th century, people started to live in the area that became Victoria. By the 16th century, the Ottomans invaded Gozo and the Citadella was under siege. While in Gozo, you can eat at the charming Il Wileg Bed and Breakfast. The 150-year-old converted farmhouse serves up a menu of traditional Maltese food. Back on the Big Island, come to Sliema for international brands when it comes to shopping. Sliema is an affluent residential and commercial area where you'll find tons of restaurants and cafes. Good morning! It's our last day in Malta, and I am definitely gonna miss this view, and I'm definitely coming back here again during summertime.